So when I think of music, my favorite is heart thumping, clubbing, partying. Arjun and Nishant, who are collectively called as the Anson music. Do you mind joining us in this conversation? How are you guys so fit, taking care of yourself, and how are you managing and balancing this?
Everybody's having a great time, and then there's one person who's just probably like, it kills you.
Music is my form of meditation. And when someone interrupts you, it's a buzz off.
How are you guys maintaining this synergy? Like, what is this teamwork?
Arjun's more extroverted. I was very introverted. He's also very hyper, more calm. So that's the synergy between us.
I can think that I want to, change the vibe, and he's going in a different direction. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? And that happens, and you can see the disagreement.
So there's also a flip side to this whole dynamic, right?
Life looks perfect on social media, but it's not the same in real.
There are definitely a lot of people that are ready to help. It's about you finding who your people are at the end of the day.
A lot of people are taking shortcuts, and with the rise of AI, technology will take over, or will human touch still hold its value?
If your DJ booth were a superhero, what would its superpower be?
I think hypnotism.
Hypnotism. So when I think of music, my favorite is always deep, heart-thumping, clubbing, partying. And that is also like a way of feeling such a beautiful high and energy and vibe. That's one reason why I go to a club. When I go to a club, it should be full of great music, extremely amazing DJs, and that plays a huge role in the way I feel and am motivated for the rest of the night. I happen to meet two amazing people who are sitting with me here today, Arjun and Nishant, who are collectively called as the Anson music. So I met them in Goa. We were like casually sitting and chatting because we weren't high. And that was the reason why we started talking to each other, and we were looking at everybody acting weird on 31st night, but we weren't high. But guess what? That was the high for us, and I was like, how are you guys even DJs? Like, how are you guys so fit? How are you so healthy, taking care of yourself? And how are you managing and balancing this career of being a DJ, focusing on your well-being and everything? So we're going to talk about all that and a lot more. But before that, let me introduce Anson Music, one of the most popular DJs in India, especially in a place where they connect with audience. I think that is fab, because no matter what, you need to know the energy there in a club, and the way you connect with the audience is everything for a DJ. And when I listen to them, that's what I feel. I feel very peaceful when I listen to their music. So this beautiful producer, DJ, creative artists have done more than 1,000 shows in the last 10 years. And we are here to talk about all that and a lot more, even related to health. Are you ready? Do you mind sharing your story with us today?
Let's go. Let's go.
Do you mind joining us in this conversation? Matching my vibe for the day and the whole party scene here is Ewoke, our sustainable wardrobe partner. Keep watching for more. So Arjun and Nishant, you guys can talk about this better. What is the reason or the purpose for you to do what you're doing?
It all started out of passion, like a few years ago. We also came from this era where there was no internet, and we also wanted to do something very unconventional, more than like a traditional 9 to 5. And because we were so passionate about music, but again, like I saw a DJ play like different styles of music is making everyone dance. And I was like, man, that is so cool. I want to be able to do that. I want to make people dance. Like, I started to follow what my heart desired. Here we are like 10 years later, doing what we love, week over week. I must say, it's like the most satisfying job in the world.
Is it?
Yeah.
Staying up in the night is the most satisfying job in the world.
Maybe not that part, but
Yeah.
over the years, I think it's becoming decreasingly pleasing. But yeah, staying up for music is something that happens.
So what is it that you do so differently? I mean, there's so many DJs. There are like thousands, lakhs of DJs today. So what is so different about your music?
One of the things I would say is more different about our music is that we make the point to update our music on an almost daily basis, right? And one of the things we've believed in is that we want to keep things absolutely fresh. We don't want a situation to come across where people say, hey, listen, we heard them last time and it's a lot of similar stuff, right? We want to give people an experience where they hear something new, they want to go back and try out for themselves, or probably even Shazam. This is one of the things that everybody does.
I do that. If I like a track, I quickly pull my phone, Shazam. I'm like, I want to add this track.
So a lot of our friends keep telling us, a lot of the people who come to our shows keep saying, hey, listen, we come to your shows just to Shazam new tracks so we can update our playlist, right? So that's something that happens a lot. And on a day-to-day basis, there's, I don't know, 50,000 tracks that get released almost on a 30 to 50k tracks get released on a daily basis. And for us, how it works is every Monday and every Fridays, new music comes out. So it's on a weekly basis.
At least in the electronic music
space, right? For us, it's like every time that happens, we always update, right? And if we are playing on a Friday at a club, what we do is even 2 hours before the thing, we're sitting and say, oh, this just came out right now. So let's, put it in the bag right away, right? So it gets played absolutely fresh and people are like, we've never heard this before. Right, so that's something that we try to do, and it seems to work.
So music actually, I feel, makes or breaks someone's soul, And there are only 2 types of people in this world. Either they party, they listen to music, or they don't. Among the people, I have to talk about the people who don't party. It might be because of any kind of social consequences, or because there are a lot of limitations and restrictions, especially in a country like ours, from parents or partners, or due to responsibilities with children. But they would want to step out and party, right? And there are people who, want to rage, who want to probably extremists, also the ones who come to a club and party. But then there are also sober ones who come just for the music. So, what are your thoughts about this?
Preconceived notions people have about nightlife in India, specifically considering it's not part of our culture. It's not something that we as Indians have had from the earlier days, right? I mean, there would have been parties, but not termed as nightlife. I've noticed that the idea is ancient, right? There was a preconceived notion about partying maybe 20 years back, and people haven't bothered to change it, right? And we've evolved a lot since then as a country, as people. The ideas and the limiting beliefs are the old ones, right? So that's something that hasn't been noticed and people aren't aware of. But when you get aware of it, you realize that it's very, very normal these days. And it's something that people all love in different formats. But music and nightlife is a way for people to really let loose and break their inhibitions, be themselves, and, forget all the worries they've had in the past or they're going through, right? The different emotions that they're going through. So this is something I feel if it changes, will really change the way people look at nightlife.
I mean, that reminds me, I see so many of these huge music festivals that happen across the world where a lot of Westerners travel with their children, like babies, kids, and even in Goa, right? We end up meeting so many, women who are moms who just carry their babies and then,
with earmuffs.
It's so nice to, see that. So do you think that culture is the reason why we are not able to seep into more, people? And how do you think, you both as artists and music producers can reach out to such people who are inside the house and can't get out of the house?
Clubbing or nightlife becoming big in India. As a country, we have so much potential, right? And to pick up on something Westerners do is going to take time, as everything should. But I feel with all the technology that we have accessible, and especially in the internet era, things are catching up. There are more festivals happening in India. There are more artists coming to India, and everyone's so excited. And I feel like we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. I think in the next 5-10 years, if you look at India, it's going to be, one of the first world countries. We are still being called a third world country, but we are there. I feel things are going to change.
I think largely to answer that question as well, is that it all starts with awareness. People now with the internet era and with everything that's happening, and with the social media generation, I would say, is that everybody has access to what's being happening all over the world. People get to see the behind the scenes. People get to see a lot more of what's actually happening in the nightlife industry, in partying per se, through people's stories, through people's posts. And because of that, now they're also seeing that it's beyond just, what people make it out to be. So you see a lot more people ready to take those steps towards attending some of that. And now, since FOMO is a big thing, nobody wants to miss out. Everybody wants to experience everything once in their life as well. And with that first step, it just opens up doors into this entire thing.
Like I see parents and kids together, like obviously 18 plus, but I see all of them coming as a family together and enjoying the music and everything.
People who live in my building community, he ever since he got to know I'm a DJ, he keeps asking me, to take his children to some of our gigs or concerts and stuff like that. And whenever it's an open to all sort of a situation, I keep sending passes to them so that they can experience, and they all attend as a family. I think that's the best way to start, because at least they have some parental guidance.
Yes.
And exposing your children to, let's say, the entire music world is beautiful.
Yes.
And doing that as a family is amazing.
It's also like progressive mindsets. Like if you look at our tradition in India is like to go on a pilgrimage, with family. It's the same thing Westerners do, but they go to a music festival.
Yes.
And it's actually equally liberating. And I can tell you that. And so we've recently just been to Europe. One of the big things we have seen, you find people of all ages at clubbing, right? So we are dancing and the person right next to us is 60 years old, right? And there's somebody else sitting over there is probably 50 and raging as good as us, right? They're dancing all night and these are crazy hours. This is like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Why do they do it? Right. And in fact, I think he had a conversation with one of them asking him, why are you here? It's 5 in the morning and you could be anywhere. Why are you dancing?
The whole concept of clubbing is a form of escape from your ordinary life, or the life that takes away so much of your space and energy, be it work or businesses or family, whatever. When you go to a club, you leave all that behind. You're there tuned into the music. And music has the capacity to, transform you. Like maybe a few years back, there were bands, that people were gathering to, but now they're like DJs are able to bring in the same vibration and frequency. Everyone's tuned in to the music. And when you go abroad and party, that's what you see. Everyone's there just for the music. It's not for anything else.
Yeah, and the power, right? It's so beautiful. Like even in Goa, I'm just like right there for me, it's always frontline, because then I feel very close to the DJ. And then I'm getting that energy from the DJ, and then the speaker is right here and I'm like just dance. It's like it can never end. I can just like, I'm in a trance, like I'm lost.
Yeah, and the most special thing about the dance floor is that you get to meet people from all walks of life. Be it a businessman, be it a doctor, an engineer, everyone's there, And the conversations that you have with everybody, it just hits so different.
And you don't dig deeper than that. It's just like, you don't see them for what they are on the surface. You connect at a different level. Right, and those friendships that you make on the dance floor are, it lasts the longest, right? They last the longest.
Guards down, you're just there, everybody's together only for the music.
And there's no pretending, that's the best part. That's what we feel.
So how do you guys do it behind the scenes? Like what happens in your head mentally? What are all the things that you have to bring together as a team before the show, or even when you're producing, creating the set for a particular, and maybe sometimes you go there and end up realizing that this is not the audience for it, or this is not working. So how do you
We are constantly working on a music, updating it. But when we're in a club, it's based on the environment. We're more spontaneous. It's based on the energy also. We look at the space that we're playing at and the people that are there. We feel like as DJs, we are also educating people on new music, different styles of music. So there's a lot that goes on in our heads. I obviously can't, go in detail about that. But again, for us, it's a form of escape. Also, I would say we are in a flow state.
You have hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people who come in with different mindsets. And I think our job as a DJ is to literally bring them from all those spaces back to a common ground. And from that common ground, take them to where we want to take them. Largely, we need to be in sync with that first, right? So it's usually clearing up our mind maybe 10-15 minutes in the green room or 10-15 minutes backstage in little bit of silence, a little bit of conversation, figuring out, looking at the audience and saying, okay, this is the kind of thing that we could do today from what we see in the audience. Maybe we go this way, maybe we go that way, and then we see where to take it from there. So it's more of that sort of a discussion. And then,
at the end of the day, everyone's going out to have a good time.
Yes.
And we want to make sure people are happy and people are leaving with a smile on their face when they leave.
True. So we're not very rigid about, okay, I'm going to just lay this down today. It's more or less about reading where the crowd is at and then deciding, okay, we make this a little bit more happy, or maybe we make this a little bit more dark. So it all goes with the vibe.
People come with their own perceptions about things, and then you might also end up, having crowd which is not happy with your music, or you would have had like some kind of very weird experiences.
Oh yeah.
Do you mind sharing any of those?
For me personally, I think anything goes. I don't mind anybody saying, play something else, play any kind of music. Sometimes there are times where people tell you, we are electronic music DJs, and in between the set, people like, play Bollywood. That's really irritating for us, definitely, because, ideally we'd like the people to come to our gigs knowing what we play, right? And then, choosing that gig accordingly. But then again, that's something that it happens a lot in India. But for the worst thing to happen to a DJ is, 1,000 people in the club or in the festival, everybody's having a great time, and then there's one person who's just probably like, it kills you, you're literally in such an amazing space in the entire thing, and one person right there just doing that just destroys your mindset, and you're just like, do something, get this person out of here, and then fighting through that is that 5-10 minutes of battle to avoid eye
what
contact.
do you say to him? Why are you smiling?
So for me, it's I try to steer clear and then avoid that person. In terms of my eye contact, usually as DJs we always have like couple of anchor points, right? So one somewhere deep down in the center, some on the left, some on the right, and somebody who's really having a great time, we tend to look at them more often, because that kind of gives us a reassurance in terms of, if the music is working for the crowd or not, right? And a lot of what we do is reading the audience. So that happens. And when you find these characters in between who are really trying to destroy the vibe, sometimes we tell them, hey, listen, take it easy. We signal them and say, listen, give us a space and time. We're going to get to where we want to get. And, we'll keep you happy. Don't worry. And sometimes when people come make requests in between a set, we're like, hey, listen, trust us to do our job, right? And if what you want is going to come,
like a pilot
it's a
flying
bonus,
the plane. It's
right?
like you're not going to go and distract him and say, no, I'm just flying.
Exactly. This is the journey. You're going to go to where you want to go at the end of the day, but trust that, there will be turbulence, but you'll get what you want at the end of the day, right? So that's more like what we do. And I guess for him it's a little different.
Intense.
He's a little short-tempered when it comes to that.
Not short-tempered, but
You can say whatever you want to say. We can beep it.
the whole reason for me getting into music was it puts me in a state of mind. I forget about everything else that's happening in my life, and I'm just there having a good time. And music is my form of meditation. And when someone interrupts you, when you're so deep in it, it's a buzz off. Sometimes you tend to react. So sometimes I politely decline, and sometimes there's also another way to say no when it gets
Send
irritable.
this guy out of the club.
Yeah, when it gets irritable. But at the end of the day, it's about what I tend to do now. I look at the people that are having fun, having a good time, and who are smiling. And that's the kind of people I want to play for.
So, but you guys are my friends. I know that you guys are not intoxicated 90% of the times. In general, when I talk to my friends, everybody tells me that the guys who are DJs and the guys who are playing, the artists, are always almost intoxicated on some kind of stuff, alcohol or whatever that is, right? And I do see them doing stuff as well. So why is it, very different for you? How do you even manage your energy in the night? Because I am dead once, I just cannot be there, like that, doing that kind of a job. And I admire that so much about you guys. How do you do it?
When we go to a club, again, for us also it's a form of escape from everything that's going on. That's where we feel alive. We feel ourselves. Doing anything be it drugs or alcohol, I think it's their own. It's a personal choice. For us, it's always been the music, and even now today when I want to go to party, I go for the music, not just anything else. From that perspective, I feel like when I go to a club and when there's good music, I just dance. I forget about the rest of the world and I just go on. And it's been the same for the last 10 years or so.
At an early stage of when we started, we are like, okay, excited about everything. I mean, as a DJ, 110% of the time, everything is on the house. Everybody's just offering you drinks. People are excited. They were like, hey bro, have this beer or have this shot or have something. So for us, it's been, we don't tend to like indulge too much on that because it's like, we're not excited about it anymore. Like our mental peace and our well-being, right? Our health and well-being. And so over time, I think the energy aspect or how we manage our energy has become more making sure that we are well rested, make sure that we are working out. We're doing a lot more of that now. So that's kind of increasing our energy levels, right? And we find that that's working for us a lot more than, let's say, drinking in the night. And we tend to prioritize more of making sure we're well rested. And well rested is always giving us more energy. And at least we've noticed that over the last couple of years. And that's why we've made the shift. It's not because that alcohol is bad. It's good. Since we moved that direction, it kind of favors us because it's literally our body that supports us at the end of the night. And we just started respecting it a lot more.
That's really beautiful, and that reminds me of your post, the Meghalaya post, which got you so much of like,
that was a big one. Like nobody expected that.
Nobody expected like my comment I remember was the fittest, happiest DJs. Like what else did like fittest, happiest DJs was like the because how do you guys like manage to have a six pack and I mean there are so many people who like literally ask me, or my clients also, they're like, we work night shifts, so how can we? And I'm like, your circadian rhythm is all off. Like, how will you? But when I see you guys, you are working mostly in the nights with full energy, and you have like a six pack, and you have like that tag fit DJs. So how do you do it?
There was a point where we're like, we need to work on ourselves, like the body and the mind, because it became physically and mentally exhausting, and it also taxing, And when you reach that point where you really hit rock bottom, then you're like, I need to do something. There needs to be change in my routine. Then we started adding like physical activities that we both do different things. When we started focusing on the body, even the mind started feeling free. It's about having the balance mentally and physically so that we could do this on the long run. Even when we go to clubs, we want to give off the same energy because we understand like the people coming to listen to our music, and we also want to be at our best selves.
So then you get hit on a lot. I mean, I'm not asking Arjun because he's married. So on the record, do you want to say something? Do you mind sharing your personal life with us? Do you have a girlfriend in every city?
No, that is not true.
Do girls throw themselves at you?
That is not true.
Come on, Nishant.
We definitely get hit on. There's access. But again, for us, we love maintaining relationships, and we want to have friends or people in every city that we go to. Our friends come out because we are there, and ends up being a party everywhere we go. And
what he's trying to say is that it makes no sense to like date them or get involved with them, because
it's
later
not about
they will
that.
come back and say shit about you.
Yeah.
You know the question I asked, and then you went to some...
Deviated.
Every city has...
Just
I
took a
have a
date,
group of friends. It ends up becoming a party. So let me say it's an after party. And then it ends up... What ends up happening? Like, what are we talking about?
We just meet and had a good time.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, now I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of in the glamorous space, right? Because you're in the spotlight. So it comes with its benefits. And at the same time, yes, there are times where, we do get hit on a lot. This is our thing, it works differently for other people. But yeah, if you get involved with somebody or anybody and it doesn't work out, it kind of comes back to bite you.
Yes.
Try to avoid that largely. But yeah, I mean, it's okay to once in a while, sometimes it's fun, everything goes, it works out, it's good.
So where is Answer coming from?
Before we became Answer, it used to be Arjun Nair and Stallion. Stallion was Nishant's stage name, DJ
Alter
name.
ego.
Alter ego.
Oh.
So it used to be every time on the flyer, it used to be Arjun Nair and Stallion. Arjun Nair plus Stallion. Doesn't sound very exciting. So we were like, probably we need to have a nicer name and something that makes sense or is cooler. So that became ANS. The short form for answer was ANS. Arjun Nair and Stallions. ANS we were like, oh, this sounds cool. And Answer sounds like a really cool name.
Yes.
Right? And so we went ahead with that. And our tagline, or sort of like our mission statement, kind of became, this is the future, we are the answer.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
So when you say this is the future, it just takes me back to the past, say like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The music scene was completely different. So how do you think it's evolving and how are you catching up with that?
You know, like everything in the world, like fashion, technology, everything is evolving. Music also has evolved over the last 10 years. I can give you Bangalore as an example. There was rock, which was super popular back then. Now it's electronic music. It's going to keep changing. Music's always going to keep evolving. I know one thing for sure, DJs are the trendsetters. As DJs, we also have this responsibility educating people with good music.
Because I feel that especially in a country like India, a lot of people look at DJs like person who's coming to mix 10 different songs and making them dance, but it's a lot of homework. Like you have to keep going back to your drawing board and then you have to collectively decide, how you're going to, and you guys actually produce not only audio but also visuals. So how does that happen?
It's a whole ecosystem. Like it's like every other business that's kind of evolved. The way we understand it's music plus the visuals, because if you look at the format that's going on in the world right now, even when you take your Instagram, there's music to visuals. That adds an old dimension. When it comes to our gigs, we want to add like a different dimension, which is music and the visuals.
We started off like that. Now we've kind of paused the audiovisual thing because, things have changed a lot since then. There's a lot, almost everybody is doing the same thing again, right? So, we found this from time to time that we really need to like pause, rethink the entire process and start all over again. When we joined together as Answer, that time, it was the EDM era. EDM was booming all over the world, and we kind of jumped ahead and did this whole big room sound. And once we did that, people were like, hey, this sounds cool. And this was different. Over from that time to now, and then obviously in between from there, we moved a little bit into the club music. We were playing a little bit more commercial stuff. And 5 years into that, we were just like, we kind of started losing interest in that sort of a sound. And that's when we felt, okay, it's time for us to reinvent ourselves, go back to the roots and go back to why we started doing what we are doing in the first place, right? And that's when we dug deeper and we were like, okay, we probably want to be a little bit more underground. We want to go back into sounds of house and techno that really inspired us in the first place. And that's when we made the shift back into this sound. And we cleared our entire social media, like wiped it clean. And started with, we started posting, our first 3-4 posts were just black, plain black, this thing posts. And we said, okay, we're going to start from nothing again, right? And we started again, right? And now we're doing a lot more underground sounds. And if you ask, what sort of music do we play? We play everything between house and techno, but it's a different twist.
No, but that reminds me, wasn't it like, 10-15 years ago, wasn't it underground? Like
it was, and then
it was very underground. It was very underground, yeah. So the whole narrative behind techno, like that goes on, that's thrown away so easily these days, is techno is a style of music that was made by misfits for misfits. And we also realized that we were misfits, and we still are.
Like if you take a creative person, if you take an artist, you are also an artist because you're thinking slightly differently from the others, right? And you get this thing, oh, you're DJs, you guys do all these things, why you guys like that, and like for example, I've colored my hair. And people are like, why would you do that? Why do you want to do something like that? It's not about that. It's just that I feel like as an artist, we don't hold back on rules, right?
Yeah,
I want to break free from what someone has told us to do. I want to explore more than, what people have said these are your boundaries. I want to break through those boundaries and see what lies beyond that.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for us, it's just about that, right? People come to us and see what can we be more than our lives, right? What can we do beyond what we do And can they experience that sort of freedom or a liberation through music? And we want to bring that to the dance floor.
No, but tell me something. I was just thinking about what you said a little while ago about how, the influence of music from Europe, wherever you travel. How does this whole touring work? Like you travel and you get influenced by other artists, or how is it different? Let's say there's music is different in Europe and India. How is it different?
I'll tell you how it's different. Largely, I would say, anything, when you take something from where it's originated, you find a lot more of the real essence of it, right? So now let's take, for an example, India. India has a lot of cultural roots. If you go down, nobody can beat us in terms of, where's the origin from our culture? Where some of these best practices, you see a lot of spirituality, you see a lot of knowledge and wealth and artisans. It comes down to, our country is culturally very rich.
Yeah.
Right? Similar to that, music originated all over the world, but especially house and techno has originated in different parts of the world. Right? If you take Berlin, had the sound of techno originated, a lot more underground music originated from there. There was a differentiation between people and castes and different communities. And music was a place where people united. It was a safe haven for people from different parts of the world to come together and not be judged. That's what we wanted to bring. And that's why we say, when we go, let's say, to a Berlin or we go to a place like that, you see how these guys really embrace nightlife.
Yes.
Right? And there's no rules. Why do they dress skimpily? It's not that they want to dress skimpily or they want to show more of their skin. It's just that they are beyond their clothing.
Yeah.
They are in tune with who they are inside themselves, right? And clothes and things are over time, people have, accustomed to.
Isn't that spirituality even here? Like there are, agoras.
Exactly. Exactly. When
doing the same thing in a different way.
They've seen, life beyond, the superficial side of things, and they realize that, what we do, and this is obviously a much deeper conversation, but on the surface level, it's like, it's that they've realized that clothes and your fashion and brands and this whole lifestyle and the fast fashion is something that, we do to make ourselves feel better. And in the roots, we were all, when we first came into the world as, let's say cavemen or whatever, there were no clothes, there were none of these fashion industries, there were no clothes, there's no cars. So it is about going back to the primal self. Yeah. Right?
No, but even with music, I feel like I go back to that primal self because like how you guys are saying the techno era or electronic music also, when you add the bells and drums, like for example, the Highlight Tribe or whatever, it just like somewhere I'm like
it brings out that.
Why do we feel like, is it only Indian origin, African origin, or is it just
I think on the whole, primal energy inside us, right? And you want to let loose and you want to just go with it. There's no rules in music or dance.
And especially electronic music, I feel like it's like a mixture of all these different frequencies. And that's why it makes us feel a certain way, You can take a African vocal, put it on an Indian beat or electronic beat. You can take psychedelic elements and put it all together. So, and I feel like electronic music is more mass appealing in the sense that everyone can connect to it.
Yes.
Right? It's for like a worldwide audience. Like Indian music especially, we understand Bollywood music, but someone sitting in Mexico wouldn't necessarily understand, the lyrics, right? But electronic music, everyone understands the frequency.
There's no language to it.
There's no language to it.
No, but in general, music doesn't have a language.
Yeah.
Right?
See, that's what it is, right? At the end of the day, if you look at electronic music, there are people that don't even understand electronic music as well, right? And it takes a little getting used to. I think if you go into the science of things, into BPM and how music works, you see that it's also about your general pace and the way energy works.
Yeah, why not? Like, you remember we connected over how we made music for Monday Monk, where we were like trying to have like 120 BPM for resistance training and something more for cardio days and endurance power days. So I think also with fitness or whatever else you're doing, whether you're running or you're walking, that BPM, if it connects to your brain waves.
And now if you look at let's say a sannyasi, or if you look at one of those sort of people, they're into deep meditation. And what is meditation? It's a repetition of anything. right? So you do repetition of mantras, or you have your japa, the beats, and then you count the beats. You count the beats. Why do you do that? You keep counting because you want to repeat till it becomes something that's second nature and you go into a trance, right? And the same thing is music is that. It's repetitive beats. Why do you have repetitive beats? The repetitive beats puts you in a state of trance because you start being in sync with that entire music, or put your energy in sync with that. So we've discussed this. We all come from different backgrounds and it's different kinds of energy. So there's different pulses of music. Start tuning your mind in a certain way that from wherever you are, you get into that one state. The BPM and the sound and the music, especially in electronic music, brings you into that channel.
And then it's easy to be in a state of...
And it drives you to get yourself into that mind flow, a state of flow. And that's how you get into a state of trance,
yeah,
right?
But no wonder why, like even for me, right? Even if I'm not intoxicated, 7 hours, 8 hours, I can just, dance. I think it just goes inside me. Is it really true that if you have to enjoy a psychedelic trance, you should be on to something? Is it one type of a chemical influencing one type of a music for a person? Like some of my friends tell me that no, we cannot go to this particular thing because we're not going to enjoy it for longer. And coming back to what you said about EDM, where everybody can connect and come together, is it because you do not need to all have been intoxicated on alcohol or weed or whatever? Or is it because really bringing people together?
Sometimes when you get introduced to it, initially it doesn't make sense. But over a period of time, you understand it. And sometimes alcohol, let's say a drug, helps you to understand this easier. It's the shortcut into...
It's the beginning, like...
tuning your mind into that space, because it's easier for you to get in sync. For example, now, we don't indulge in alcohol or any of these things because, it's second nature to us. Like instantly I can close my eyes and I can get into that state, right? So, but it's different for different people.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no denying that maybe let's say an alcohol or drug helps you to get into that state faster, and people choose that path.
Yeah, of course, like not judging anyone. I'm just like really thinking aloud.
Yeah, for sure. And it does, because it's like these chemicals exist in our body as well, right? But at smaller doses or different doses, different kinds of activities help you produce these chemicals.
Yes.
The shortcut is taking drugs, right? So that's it. At the end of the day, it just comes down to that.
That's so true. Like when my friend says, "Are you up till 5 a.m. without doing anything?" I'm like, I can just be high.
We've just figured it out, and we're lucky to
there is chemical in my brain. It's releasing it.
Yeah. I think it's just that. Yeah, totally.
So, when you, travel, like I said, again, like what are the kind of people you meet? And, are there any scandalous instances? Again, I don't know why when I say scandalous, I'm just looking at Nisha.
So general perception of people is that, he's a DJ, which means there's sex, drugs and alcohol all the time. But anything in excess is going to kill you eventually. We're human beings, and we're not programmed that way. Because over a period of time, after doing this for so many years, we understand for us to have a sustainable career, we kind of need to have a balance, everything in moderation, or it's going to really kill you.
So that also reminds me, then there must be people who want to be behind you on the stage. I see people crowding backstage and probably pushing you guys because they want to be in the limelight. I want to be a part of this scene.
I wish it was only the limelight. People try to touch us in weird ways as well. It's damn super annoying. And the thing is, see, that's the thing, right? They feel like we are accessible. Right, and they feel like we are, we must be so used to this that anything goes, and that's where it's different, right? Sometimes we just really like our space.
In this whole music and movie industry, usually people only talk about women and women's safety and how they get grabbed and all that stuff. But that happens very much for you guys also. From whatever we spoke, I feel like you also get
it does happen a lot for us. But yeah, I think earlier I would say that. We probably didn't have too many things in place, and again, it's new for people, so they're very excited. They come to clubs to meet women and do all of that, which still happens. But I think we still have a lot more awareness around women's safety in nightclubs right now. It's a little bit more in control. You have bouncers, you have different teams, and people looking out for each other. I think that's something that even in most of our gigs we put out before and after the gig, saying, hey, make space for the women. Let them come in the front. Let them feel a little, safe to be in that spaces, and let them not be violated. We don't want anybody to be violated for that matter. In fact, we tend to not discriminate as much as we can in terms of even guest list. I mean, there's a lot of partiality and this thing to couples. As far as we can try, we even give out guest lists for a lot of our male friends as well, because there are so many people that really love the music. And for us, at the end of the day, everybody is equal on the dance floor. And as long as they respect those boundaries, we want them also to feel included. So we have a lot of people, we don't restrict. We try to keep that way, at least for as Anson.
No, but I've also seen that there's a lot of shift in behavior over a period of time.
Yeah.
Even in the clubs, there's a lot of, back then there were too many fights and, club fights and all that stuff. I think now it's way better.
It's getting better for sure. But at the same time, that's what, I feel like largely awareness needs to play a bigger role in this, and it's also the way we deal with it, right? So in at least one of the things in India, what we do is we have bouncers. The minute we see something wrong happening, they catch them and they throw them out of the club. Contrary to that, what we have noticed abroad, experience for ourselves, when something wrong happens, they also have something called an awareness team. An awareness team is people who are inside the nightclub, like security, but they're not security. They're always looking out to see if something weird is happening or any of these instances are happening. But they take you, and instead of throwing you out, they speak to you and they say, hey, would you like this happening to you? And and most often than not, it kind of gets them to also start thinking about, they really raise your awareness as to, would this be something you like to do? I mean, would you like to want to be a part of this? They have stronger rules for that, and they have better ways to deal with these situations and changes.
Yeah. So tell me, in terms of women and men in the DJ space, how do you think things are changing? And most of the times, not only in India, but even globally, I see that women DJs are popular and rising and acclaimed. Why do you think that is happening?
If you look at, the DJing history, there are a lot of men, and over the years, there are a lot of women who caught up. It's a very unconventional job, at least when it comes to Indian standards. I feel like over the years, DJing as a profession has kind of quite popular, and a lot of people are interested to become DJs for whatever reason it may be, because they love music or it's just popularity. As long as you're paying your bills, a lot of people want to do it. And a lot of people also want to do it because of the perks that it has. But I feel like deep down, you really need to ask that question yourself. Understand if this is something you're going to do long term, or it's just something that you want to do for fun, For us, it's a profession. We also respect everyone else that's a part of it, because we want to grow as a community. And the more DJs, the better it is for the whole ecosystem, because it goes from being called unconventional job to a conventional job,
Yeah, but to answer your question in terms of women versus men, yes, there's a huge rise in women DJing in the scene, which is amazing. But if you look at it, usual scenarios in every other industry, you say women don't have much opportunities. But over here, it's rising for women. It's exactly the opposite, right? And it's also there's a different side to it, which is people prefer the glamour side of it. And for the wrong reasons as well. Like people want, a woman DJ.
On the screen.
Think, it sells more.
They think they can sell more tickets.
We can't do anything about that. But at the same time, it's also because right now we're in a social media generation. It's not just women, it's also men. You find a lot of these guys who have just jumped in because it's hyped up.
Yes.
And just because you're an influencer, now you want to become a DJ or any of those kind of things.
Yeah, that is wrong, I think.
It's not about wrong, but again, they're in it for the wrong reasons. And, it tends to dilute a lot of what we do. And it also passes the wrong message, because people, they don't know what to communicate at the end of the day. And a larger audience, what they see is what they believe. And that's where things go in a different direction. That's why there's a lot of conversations around popularity versus the real scene, right? Mass and the underground and that kind of a thing.
So even for me, when I see you both, I still feel like two people will add a lot of energy to the whole, scene. And for me, it's always been good or bad with a lot of, partners and businesses. And there'll be so many disagreements, and, sometimes you're like, my God, how do I deal with this person? And even in a relationship, it's really hard. How are you guys maintaining this synergy? What is this teamwork?
It's like every other relationship, right? Having a partnership means being in a relationship. Over the years, you kind of understand a lot of things come in between, like our insecurities, our ego, a lot of clashes, a lot of ups and downs. But going back, we understand why we started this, and also we understand our values. We both follow the same values, and that's what keeps us together even till date. And we also have like a good support system when it comes to our friends. They are the ones that really push us through. And sometimes when we have bad days, we all sit down together as a unit and discuss, what's happening with each other, and that's what keeps us going.
Largely also about being humbled at the end of the day. Sometimes when we let the ego get to our head, we can have really rough days, and there are many days where we completely pissed off with each other.
And then if you have a gig when you're pissed off with each other, how do you
it's tough. Sometimes, it can go sideways. And see, so that's what I'm saying, right? So for us, you really need to hold your shit together, if I were to say it, right? And there are gigs where you feel like, oh shit, this is not a direction you want to be moving in at all. Like I can think that I want to, change the vibe, and he's going in a different direction. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? And that happens, and you can see that disagreement. And when that disagreement happens, it translates to the audience. So of course, there are not days when we have incredible gigs all the time, but there are times when we have gigs that are good, and there are times when we have gigs that are bad. The gigs that are bad usually happens because of the disagreements between us. But the way we work around it is that later, when we're in a different state of mind, we realize, okay, maybe we messed up. And then we talk about it and say, hey, listen, this didn't work. We need to change that. And please understand that this is what we want to put out to the people. And if we have to put out our best selves, so it's more about a conversation, and that's how we center ourselves back and then work on the next gig.
But as a team, I think you can always do more, right? Than one DJ, you're always...
Absolutely. Trust me, I mean, it always helps a lot more, because right now, earlier DJing was about just the music. Right now, if you're a DJ, you have to be a social media specialist, you got to be a designer, you got to be a promoter, you got to be your own PR personal, you got to do all of it.
Not
right?
easy.
And it's always good when two minds come together.
Yeah.
The way, I see it is Arjun's more extroverted. I was very introverted. He's more like the social butterfly. And I'm more, I like my own space kind of a person. But again, he's also very hyper, more calm. So that's the synergy between us. And over a period of time, like after doing this for so many years, we kind of understand our own responsibilities.
Since we've done this for so long, we instantly know where each of us need to step up in each of our things, and it always works out. It's easier for us to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this and you're going to do that. And then we let each other take the lead when we feel like it's the other person's forte. That somehow
awesome.
Kind of works.
So much to learn.
Yeah.
So there's also a flip side to this whole dynamic, right? There's like all the glitz and glamour, and then there could be, something happening behind. What is it?
Since we are always working on weekends, we're working on holidays, and that's when people get more time to come out, is that we also tend to get a little lonely. Everybody thinks that we have billions of people to talk to, but sometimes you need just that one or two friends, and sometimes you want deeper connections. And I think initially this was an issue because we were all over the place. Now, over the last few years, we have kind of centered ourselves. We know what's important to us. We focused on a lot more stronger connections rather than hundreds and hundreds of connections. But initially, I would say that the flip side to something like this is that you can get so carried away with everything that's happening that you tend to forget what some of the roots are, right? So that's definitely something that you don't get to see. And it's, again, we are in a social media generation. Everybody puts out what seems to be the best version of themselves, the best version of their lives. There's a lot of things that don't work. And especially, let's say, in the music industry and us being DJs, we have access to everything. And we are living our best lives in terms of maybe traveling and partying and all of that. But the flip side to it is that we are the boss of our own lives. And if we don't have things that hold us together and keep us grounded, we can go astray, right? So, and we've had instances where that has happened, and we tend to lose focus of what's important to us, and, just completely go off track, right? So that's stuff I feel can happen a lot in this scene.
So do you mind sharing how you handle that loneliness, these mental health issues, and balancing your career with even if you feel it's socially awkward on certain, like I feel some days I just want to be in my shell.
True.
And imagine that happening to you guys on the day that you have to go and perform.
Oh, it happens a lot. For me personally, after I play a show, I need 15 to 20 minutes of silence. It's just being with myself. Right? Usually what happens after a show is that people come to talk to you. They're like, oh, let's do this, let's after party, blah, blah, blah. All of those things happen. But what I enjoy the most after a show is just sitting down by myself, relaxing, taking it easy, no conversations, nothing at all. Right?
Silence.
The silence.
I mean, as they say, life's all about having the balance. On all the weekdays, we like to have slow mornings. The things that we really enjoy doing, like going out on a walk or hitting the gym and things like that. We spend our weekdays doing the things that we really enjoy. And on the weekends, because we are out working on weekends, it's like we become social butterflies. So there's a fine balance of both. We enjoy that and we also enjoy this as well.
Monday to Friday, I'm sure you also have the pressure to keep yourself updated and come up with things that are new and fresh. So how is that, happening? I'm sure there'll, probably people in the music industry who want to listen to you guys if, God forbid, they've not been successful. Even if you're a DJ or even a singer, composer, whatever, fraction of people who will able to be successful. And in terms of also money, when I say success, it's very, like that circle is very tiny.
There are people that have already showed us the way that has made a blueprint for us to be successful. You can always reach out to people. Maybe 2 out of 10 people might reply, and maybe build a personal relationship with people that have already done it. And there are also DJs that have paved way for us that we really look up to. And sometimes when things get difficult, we have a conversation with our DJ friends. There are definitely a lot of people that are ready to help. It's about you finding who your people are at the end of the day.
Life looks perfect on social media.
Yes.
But it's not the same in real, right? And sometimes there are times where you don't feel creatively charged. You don't feel inspired. You don't feel like you want to do this anymore. A big example of that is COVID, right?
Yes.
When we were having probably the best time of our lives, COVID came in and destroyed our plans for the entire next year. Right, and we had to be at home, and when we can't have social gatherings, when we can't have any of those things, I really questioned what we were doing. If you can't do that, what do you do? And we literally had nothing to do in that is 8-9 months or almost a year's period of time. And not many DJs took that easily. There were people who are giving up. There were people who are having mental breakdowns. There were people who are going into depression. It wasn't easy. Right? And for us, it was about literally recentering ourselves. There were friends who were ready to support us and saying, hey, listen, if you need us, we are there for you. And we were lucky that way, but I'm sure not many of them had that. There were a lot of DJs whose main livelihood or their entire money for them and their family used to come out of that. Right? And it wasn't easy. And we had a bunch of our DJs who were looking out for each other to see what we could do for the ones that, couldn't there. We tried to share some of our resources. And for us, we looked at it as a period of time where
that's a crash.
Yeah, it
was
a crash.
Hard.
And it was during that period of time where we said, okay, you know what can we do beyond DJing? What can we do to really keep the ball going if, let's say, tomorrow we have a situation again where we are in a lockdown or something of that sort. Right, so it's interesting. It really pushed our boundaries to think beyond that. And now we've explored different aspects and avenues as to how do we expand beyond just the music and being just DJs. Right, so that's something that it enabled.
That's where your consulting role.
Yeah, so now we consult. Branding on the whole works, and something that works for people and the pulse of the people. So we've expanded into, let's say, consulting in the F&B spaces. We've expanded into programming and working with artists and building their sort of profile and helping them understand what's really worked for us and sharing that sort of knowledge.
That's really nice. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Where am I gonna dance again to your tunes?
I mean, for us, the season's just begun. I feel the next few weeks are going to be hectic, at the same time fun, because we're performing with so many artists. It's also the season, which means Goa is gonna be, the place to be. We're also excited to meet all our friends, the DJs, and everyone in the industry is going to come together. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share this, but we are opening for Macioplex.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also playing alongside Ben Boma.
And just 2 names.
I love Ben Boma and you guys. So I'm coming.
Yes, you should come. It's actually, the season started. We've taken almost already 8-9 flights to different cities. We've played in
That's
Bombay,
crazy.
Hyderabad, Goa, Bangalore, all of it put together. And, so a ton of shows lined up. Closing the year with a couple of festivals. Like he mentioned, we're playing with some of our biggest inspirations like Mesioplex, names that I can't reveal, which you'll get to see in the next few weeks. Look out for it. I think
Nice.
that's where the action is at.
So is there like anything that goes really wrong in these festivals sometimes?
Not just festivals, even in clubs. I feel like in India, we have this jugaad mentality, right? The sound's not great. Okay, let's do some jugaad. At the end of the day, we are the ones that get into trouble when the sound's not right. We feel like we're not
Giving our best.
Giving our best. Yeah.
And this has happened. I think we're playing for a festival. There's over 600-700 people at that place. It happened in the lawn of a hotel, a 5-star hotel. They've given only half of the power that they're supposed to be giving, and it's like sucking in a lot of, obviously we're using extremely highly powered speakers, and then the entire system is supposed to be super high voltage and all of that stuff, right? And these guys have not kept a backup. We're running it all on the main power socket, and the speakers go off.
Oh my
In between,
God.
literally everybody's having a great time, and boom, we don't know what went wrong. And then by the time we figure this out, there's already a gap between the sounds. So things have gone sideways many times. And that's the worst thing can, happen, because
One of the things in India, especially when it comes to events, have you seen this meme that's been that's floating around everywhere online? The client's expectation is that, but you're delivering this, right? So that's exactly what we go through every week. Like that's exactly what we deal with promoters and clubs. Everyone wants to build like great aesthetics. They forget that a club's soul is the sound and the production. And you need people, running it. It's more about quality than having so much quantity, right? At the end of the day, like we also tell like all the clubs that we work with, we want to make sure like, they deliver good quality experiences for people that are buying, tickets. At the end of the day, we feel bad when people are not getting their money's worth.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So it's engineering the sound in the clubs and everything.
Not just the sound, it's about giving a overall experience.
Yeah. Correct.
overall experience. And I just feel like, we tend to take a lot of shortcuts. Not just us. I mean, people in the ecosystem don't understand the real or true value of making sure that why we asked for certain kind of equipment or why we asked for certain kind of speakers. It's not because we want to put our demands up. It's just we want to make sure that the expectation of people that are coming to this event and they get the full worth of their money and the real experience of what we set out to deliver. That needs to match. I think when we create value is when people come back.
And there's a lot of plagiarism, right, in the entire industry. And I think, what are the ethics like, you guys?
A lot of people are taking shortcuts, and with the rise of AI for music production per se, there's a big scare within the market right now. Will AI replace DJs? Will AI replace musicians? Right? Because now what people used to take hours or months to do, AI can do in seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And we've seen that even with music production, AI, or rather artificial intelligence, can make music in no time. And I think that where we're heading towards with this whole technology is, it's not very far away that you can make a track in less than a few seconds. Music producers go obsolete. Only time can tell, right? It's a scary future that we're heading towards. At the same time, it's important for us to also see how we can bring that human connection into this entire process. For us to see, technology will take over, or will human touch still hold its value? We're also looking to embrace AI in certain ways that it can work hand in hand with what we do, right? So that's kind of a big thing that's right there right now.
I think the AI tools will make your job a little easier. But
Yeah, it's only about using it to your advantage. When it comes to making music, music always requires the human touch. And I also understand over the years, I've learned myself that for you to make music is for you to figure out yourself as a human being. Best music comes out.
Yeah.
You take the history and look at...
that's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
it
you
is.
to make music is for you to figure out that you're a
yourself as a human being.
profound thought.
Because at the end of the day, when it comes to creating anything, any piece of art, there's a lot of emotions and feelings that go behind it. Nobody will understand that. When you have a conversation with the artist, it's always going to hit differently because they're going to speak a lot of sense. At the end of the day, creating art is never going to become obsolete. There's value in it.
The extension of that is basically comes down to originality. Something that we've believed very strongly is that we've seen a lot of DJs and people in the industry look at shortcuts, just put out music which, other people have made, and they just put their name to it. And that happens a lot because, it's easier to pay money and just get a track and then put it out in your name and then get the fame for it. Because there's a lot of manufactured superstars these days. The mass public don't understand, but for us, being a part of the industry, we see that. But we will do what we want to do, and we will do something that only we have done. But for us, it's like, if it's not from us, it's not us. That's one of the things that has happened. But having said that, we spent a lot of time working on original music that's coming up. And we have quite a few tracks coming up, and we're excited to put that out. And we can finally say that it's stuff that we have made.
That's very inspiring. I think that's also one of the key takeaways, for probably the viewers who are watching, and especially aspiring DJs or aspiring anything in the music industry, to be original.
Absolutely. And I think when that happens, it speaks from itself, and art is most appreciated back then. I mean, whenever.
I think even now, so there are so many AI tools and you really don't need to sit and paint for days or months, but still art is appreciated.
I mean, it's a big debate because you still get a crazy output, but it just comes down to, the story behind the art.
Sure.
And I think that story can come from a personal touch or a connection or something that roots from emotion that we experience. So I think that's just the difference.
So people connect to you, and then I'm sure if they come and see you somewhere, they'll bump into you, they'll recognize you, they'll talk to you. Will they be like, I heard your music in this festival, and then
yeah, we love that. I mean, so I think one of the things that keeps us going, we had tough days where we feel like we probably want to quit. We don't want to DJ anymore. There are times where we feel like when we don't make money, right? And I can be honest with that, because given the rise of the number of DJs and in the entire industry, it's become very accessible now. Earlier, it used to be tougher to become a DJ. Right now, you have thousands of DJ schools. You have access to YouTube. You don't even need to spend a single rupee to become a DJ, because you have tons and hours of worth of knowledge right there on YouTube, right, to teach you and make you probably like an incredible producer. At the end of the day, it comes down to really going down into where we are and where we come from, and that's what it is about for us.
I suddenly feel like it's a ton of work.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work. Like being creative is something else.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but at the end of the day, when you have that growth mindset and when you always are curious to learn something new, you already have the advantage.
Yeah. Growth mindset being the key word here. Okay, so I have a very fun round because we spoke enough about everything that you guys are.
Sure.
And maybe quick answers.
Sure.
To answer music from answer.
Yeah.
If your DJ booth were a superhero, what would its superpower be?
I think hypnotism.
Hypnotism?
Yeah, I mean, literally controlling what people think or what we can make them do, So that should be fun, I guess.
I think
that's what we do in some format or the other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you accidentally played a song that made everyone leave the dance floor? What was it?
A lot of times. So we tend to get, it's not unlike, popular music or something like, we don't have those kind of tracks. It's just for us, especially in house music or let's say a techno, there's no lyrics or any of that stuff. I mean, not too many lyrics, right? So it's largely just a shift in energy, right? So we are on a high, and sometimes we play a track that sounds exciting or incredible in our heads. For the audience, it's like, what did he just play? Why did he play that? It sounds so different. It sounds so slow, right? And for us, we are looking at the technicalities of the track, and it just goes like really south, and we're like, oh no, why did we do that?
Yeah.
So that's when the situation comes up a lot.
This will be to Nishant. What's the weirdest thing you've seen on the dance floor while you were mixing? Why should all the weird questions go?
When men make hearts,
men won't make hearts.
I find that extremely weird, especially on the dance floor.
When men make hearts, why men can't do this? It's cute. Or do you think maybe they're also hitting on you, like?
Oh, maybe.
You should be like hard.
No, actually, I think to answer that, I want to just jump in there, because one of the things that really puts me off is when people start getting into a circle and start dancing.
I know, right?
It kills the vibe for me. Like, I'm just like, oh, please don't do that here. Even though it might seem like a lot of fun, but this is not the time to do Ringa Ringa Roses, you know? You know what I'm saying?
Ringa Ringa Roses. If you could only play one song for the rest of your life, which one would drive you insane first?
I like listening to the same. Sometimes the whole time that I'm driving, I will listen to just one Wind Bomber track and I'm like supercharged.
Like you could have one track, you know. So.
For me, absolutely not. If I listen to something for more than 2 or 3 times, I really need something fresh. Like, it's very tough for me to listen to something over and over again. And it's also partially because I feel like I have some form of ADHD, right? So it's like, it cannot work for me and I'm easily distracted and stuff like that. So I need something new each time, every time.
What about you?
For me, any track from Daft Punk really does the job for me.
I thought you would say it's my Enigma track.
That's a thing I want to just probably elaborate on. For any DJ or producer, the tracks that we make over a period of time, we can't.
The whole process, right? We've heard so many versions of it so many times.
It becomes very tough to like it again. You know, so if you actually, so this is behind the scenes. If you actually go and sit down with the producer, it's not like you sit there and you make the whole track and the whole thing. That same 16 bar loop or 8 bar loop or 4 bar loop, you listen to it 1 billion times. And when you see the process, it's not sexy at all. Right? And it's super irritating. And like, by the time you finish the track, you're like, I can't listen to this track again. You want to shelf it. You don't even want to put it out, you know? But it might sound different for people, but for us, it's so many times we've repeated that process. It's like you can't listen to it again.
What's your secret weapon track that always gets the crowd going?
There are so many. I don't think there's one track.
I think it keeps changing from every 2 weeks. For us, it's always about something new. Every month, there is one track that really works on the dance floor. We tend to repeat those 1 or 2 tracks. But besides that, you know, we try to keep it fresh.
And there are also so many tracks that are timeless. You know, it never ages. And sometimes when you play something super unexpected and people really enjoy it, you know, that's the whole point of being a DJ, you know, throwing those surprises.
Yeah, so I think some of the classics, like, you know, you a lot of Eric Prydz stuff from early days is you just throw it in between a set and people are like, wow, it's nostalgia all over again. Yeah. But it literally brings in a different kind of emotion.
If you could DJ for any fictional character, who would it be and why?
You wouldn't?
I don't know. I'd play for like Wonder Woman any day.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky question.
Maybe something like the BGM that you would like to give for.
SWAT Cats.
Oh yes, that'll be cool. Yeah, SWAT Cats would be totally down our alley.
Yeah.
Again, a duo and
I think,
music for that would be like really
you guys
cool.
will be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we see ourselves as underdogs, so it's something that we can connect to a lot.
What's the most embarrassing moment you've had while DJing?
The most embarrassing moments are definitely when people come with tissues in their hand with like requests. It could be, you know, as cheesy as playing, asking us to play an Ed Sheeran song, or, you know, writing a compliment on it.
It can really throw you off.
Don't write tissues to DJs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice once in a while. I mean, people write really sweet things also. So I wouldn't complain.
If they write something nice about you, then it's nice.
Definitely. Sometimes it's very, very, very sweet. You know, it's nice, and sometimes it can be something really awkward, right? And one of the things that, you know, which really don't
phone
work
numbers?
is phone numbers is okay. I mean, like, I think that's not, at least it's neutral. But most often than not, they come into the club saying, okay, listen, it's this person's birthday, it's my birthday. I need you to announce my name. Why? Why? I don't think that's part of the deal. Right? So now it's more like, okay, you know what? Here's my account number, transfer some money, and maybe we make that happen. You know?
It feels better when they write to us online because we always go back to refer it.
Yeah.
And also gives us a little bit of inspiration or happiness.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some really nice and really sweet messages come to us on the pages, and it really reinforces why we do what we do. Right? So that's the second side of that.
If you had to describe your mixing style as a type of dance move, what would it be?
I don't know. It's just probably just
Just this.
yeah, more of just fist bumps, heads down, hands up sort of a vibe.
Have you ever had a fan make a request so bizarre that you just had to laugh? Nishant.
He has
Bizarre requests.
What are you doing later tonight? That's not bizarre.
It's not bizarre.
That's kind of a common
not
question.
That's a common question. I like your job.
I don't have an answer for this.
Why don't you have an answer? I'm sure you do.
Answer?
Answer should have answers too. If you could create a holiday dedicated to one song, which song would you choose and how would we celebrate it?
This is one track by Duke Dumont. It's called Ocean Drive.
Oh, I love it.
So
it's like,
holiday means that track comes to my
to
mind.
me too.
Yeah.
Like when I have to, if I have to, even from Chennai, like if I have to just take the car out and drive to Pondi, I'm like, na 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 na.
That happens a lot, for sure.
Has Arjun ever goofed up while playing a set?
Oh, definitely.
Or
Thousands of times.
You? So you give him a look. What is the code word? Like he goofed up, and then you're there. You're like, I don't want to take this blame.
Oh, that happens. That happens. It's tough to navigate around it sometimes because you're like in different places in the head, right? But sometimes it's just a nudge, and I'm like, hey, listen, it's time to reset. You know, something like that. I'm like, dude,
There's no
wake
code
up.
word. It's just
It's more like
more like a body language.
More like a body language, and sometimes I'm just like, it's more like a conversation. Like, hey, you know, what are you doing? Wake up, look around you. You know, wake up, kind of.
But
a
there
thing.
are times you guys played against each other. If I'm
Yeah, so this is a thing that's come up recently, and we've done quite a few of it. It's called face to face.
you face off with each other.
Yeah, it's
you
kind of
should
a
face off with somebody else.
Yeah, but we are already two of us. It becomes really easy that way. But and I mean, creatively, it also is nice because usually we tend to play with each other all the time. So when it's against each other, we're like, okay, cool. We can do the stuff that we really want to sometimes, and you know, try and push each other in terms of where we are taking this whole journey. It's actually had a very positive response so far, and we're getting more and more requests to do face to face in different cities, and it's fun and it's easier for us. I feel. I mean, we know what sort of a vibe we are looking for. At the same time, there are some surprises that come in, so it's nice.
Have you covered up for each other? Be it an ex or a partner? Were you waiting for the whole question? Nishant? Have you covered up? Like
Yeah,
if there was this girl
Yeah.
who came and then you were supposed to go out with somebody else.
Yeah, I
and you
mean,
didn't cover up.
I guess
Yeah,
you
we
need
do
to.
that.
You know, there's a lot of stuff that happens.
Very often.
Now, not so much, but maybe.
Why am I
earlier.
starting to like his job? He's getting all the compliments in the
Yeah, I
world.
mean, as someone who's single as a DJ, I think you can have a lot of fun.
And who's nice and who's like fit guys and everything else also, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah, if you really want to have fun, you can definitely have fun.
Okay. And before we sign off, what is the best gig that you've ever played?
For us, the best gig till date would be opening for Carl Cox.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of our highlights in our career because we grew up listening to so much of his music, and he's played such a big.
I mean, he's the daddy of the daddies in the scene.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's
So
So you
big
handed over to
solutions.
him, you
Yeah,
played.
literally
Yeah.
handed over the set to him, and like right before we took over, he was supposed to start, and then he came in and he's like, "Wow, I like the vibe," and he's like, "No, you're gonna play for another 10 minutes." We were like, "What?" You know, it's crazy, and he literally came in between our set and started cheering the crowd, and there were like about 4,000 people there, and they lost it. And man, I still have goosebumps even now talking about it. I'm like, "Whoa, is this really happening?"
So nice.
Yeah.
And he just hugged us, you know, and he's this really huge figure, right? And he just
yes.
goes like that on both of us, and we're like, okay, boom, this just happened, right? Or did it happen? Pinch me, sort of a vibe. It was
And the
awesome.
F1 thing and all.
Oh, F1 was crazy.
Yeah, and every time we travel to a different country, it's always special because tattoo on your body, right? Every time you travel to that place, you start having those memories again. And even sometimes when people from different cities come and like they talk to us, they remind us about that gig, we instantly go back.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a timestamp almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
So
Trust me, I
F1
did
also
so
you
much of
get
F1.
like the grandstand passes or something?
Yeah, we did. When we went, we
Yeah.
had best tickets to the thing. We had the yacht view. We were on the
You
yacht.
call friends.
We could, you know.
Okay, and is there anything else that you want to share on Do You Mind?
The message I would say for people that are listening and watching is come out to, these gigs, come out and support your friends, your artist friends, come out to more gigs, little encouragement or a lot of encouragement is welcome always.
Yes.
And keep letting the DJ do what they want to do and take you on their journey rather than expect something
It's
from
a
them.
serious profession.
Let yourself be surprised, right? So more of that.
I would like to say that you're doing a wonderful job by having this kind of a format where you're diving into someone else's mind, like us as DJs. I don't really think people know what DJs are all about.
Yes.
And this can be a nice platform for people to understand us as human beings.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, right? I mean, that's the whole intention of Do You Mind? Because why isn't it only about just making people aware and not branding anything around this whole, just break myths, just talk.
And find out what really happens, right?
Exactly.
And
there's so much that goes into your heads. I mean, that's phenomenal. I'm so happy to have you both on the show. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Really, really, really means a lot.